Okay, guys, so basically, I'm going to report on the NEC meetings that have happened over the past 2 weeks. So basically, there's been interesting resolutions that have come out of those meetings. I don't know if it's resolutions that come from the NEC meeting or if it's resolutions that are coming from like Cyril, like his mouth, because it's like, I don't know. But anyways, look, these are resolutions that apparently have come from the NEC meeting. So not even apparently, released in statements by the ANC. So the first thing is that if you are basically accused of corruption or basically have any pending investigation on corruption or anything of the sort, you will step down, you'll step aside, and you'll no longer occupy whatever position you occupied, whether you're a minister or whether you're an official or whatever the case may be, you will step aside. That's what the ANC has said. So before you've been proven guilty of any crime or anything or any wrongdoing, you basically have to step aside. So ultimately, I can wake up tomorrow and basically say Praveen Gordon is my homeboy, transfer a young 500 into his account, and basically, just to establish that line or that chain of causation, and then basically turn around and he has to step down. As things stand, guys, everybody in the ANC has been accused of corruption. So I guess we don't have an executive and we don't have a government as things stand, because everybody's been accused. I get accused of corruption, man. Accused. Tell me your names, I can actually throw it out there. But Cyril's basically saying that everybody's been accused, step aside. And honestly, guys, first of all, what you're suggesting is very unconstitutional, because everybody has a right to first be proven guilty before actually being guilty. Because ultimately, you making them step aside and resign for what? For the why? Why? You know what I mean? Like, why? Because they're not guilty of anything. Because honestly speaking, we all understand who owns the media. We all understand what's been happening. And the narrative is to basically paint a picture that the ANC is corrupt. Yes, they're corrupt, the majority of you. But the reality is that there's a specific narrative that's been pushed and been pushed for many years that very everybody in the ANC is corrupt. So what are you trying to say? So everybody must step aside now from their positions and we mustn't have a government. It's indecisive leadership and it's actually poor leadership. And honestly speaking, can you just have a backbone? The second resolution that came from Cyril is that, from the NEC meeting, is that also, if you are a relative of the state, of a relative of anybody who works for the state or for the government, you cannot do business with the government. So if your mom or your aunt or your uncle works for Umaspada, works for the Department of Energy, works for whatever, an SOE such as ESCOM, works for a DFI such as IDC, if you have family there, whether it's your aunt, your uncle, your koko, your whatever, so long as you are blood relative, you cannot do business with the state. Which means the rest of us must now look for jobs. Where? There are no jobs. First of all, there are no jobs. Number two, you're telling us that we cannot make a life and make money for ourselves because family is in politics, because we have relatives in politics. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And honestly, guys, this is the policy, if this is the position of the ANC, we must be very scared and must be very worried. And we must honestly question where our vote is going to be going to next year, because it cannot be that so many of us are going to be excluded from participating in the economy simply because we have relatives in political position, or even in government, or even officials, or even your mom is a chartered accountant and she works for the IDC. But now you can never do business with the state. You have to study granting Cyril. That's the only solution. Study granting so that we can actually live, because there's no jobs. We can't now participate. I mean, government is the biggest procurer of services. We can't do business with government. We're being precluded from doing business with government. So please, study granting. At least that's the only solution. Honestly speaking, ANC, watch out about what you're putting out to the public, because people want to hear about these crazy resolutions. And a lot of people who are working for governments, working for state-owned enterprises, working for various organizations that fall under government, are going to actually be negatively impacted by this. And people will be left out of the economy once again. Because why? Because Cyril wants to seem as squeaky clean. Because we want to show squeaky clean governance. No, guys, honestly. Bandile Masuku, for example, has been suspended now because he is perceived to be corrupt. Because why? His wife's friend did business with the state. His wife's friend's husband did business with the state. Ungenap is an MSc of health in procurement, guys. Do you actually know how tenders work? How does an MEC get involved in tender procurement? Does he sit at the bid adjudication committee? How does he get involved? Please take me through it. I would love to know. Somebody can take me through it. How he could actually foresee. Bid adjudication committees usually consist of like 8 members or so. And it's not the MEC of health. He is actually not involved in that. And that's a capable cadre. Kusela Diko, also same thing, spokesperson. Because perception, Cyril's like suspension. Stop that thing. Stop suspending people. They're not guilty of anything. Bring a crime, bring an argument against the person, level it in a court of law, and find them guilty, and then fire them. We cannot be now, everybody suspend everybody. Hey, no man, ANC, you're not in charge. I mean, Cyril, what you're doing, honestly, is not going to only hinder, like, the race of South Africa. It's going to hinder your own family and your own family's progression. Your own sons are actually in business. They are businessmen. But because of you wanting to be perceived as Mr. Squeaky Clean, the only business they can actually get and do is with these NGOs and NPOs, all of them, you know? And honestly speaking, why? You are literally... If I was Cyril's sons right now, I'd be telling my dad, my guy, out. I'm not voting for the ANC because of you. He is literally puzzling you guys.